here. One is a number 8 seed. You don't expect a number 8 seed to be here in the quarterfinals, but here is the York College Panthers.
York College Panthers would like nothing better than be the party crashers as far as the NAIA National Championship here at Point Lookout tonight.
You mean the party crashers again?
Again, exactly. This is not the first time, but this will be a number 1 seed they're taking on tonight here.
Well, they already beat their number 1 seed. They're taking on a number 3 seed tonight in Indiana Wesleyan, and a very quality team. In fact, it's number 2 seed, I should say. Indiana Wesleyan coming in with a record of 30-5. York did win the opening tip-off and has the basketball in hand. Here's a shot for 3 that's up, no good. That one missed on the side by Chris Smith. Rebound comes down to Indiana Wesleyan and Bob Peters across the timeline, and they will set up the offense. Marlin drives into the lane, will back it back outside. One of the teams that really very well knows how to play in this national championship. Lane Mahurin gets to the basket and scores, and the Wildcats out to an early 2-0 lead. Both of these teams were in very tight games yesterday. York had to hold off a late charge by Dakota Wesleyan to win by 1. In one of the best games of the tournament, had Indiana Wesleyan outlasting Northwest Christian by a final 6-point margin when all said and done. Shot clock is down to 5. Drive, free throw line jump shot up, no good off the back rim. That one missed by Chris Smith, and a rebounding foul called on York. The York College Panthers, again, a number 8 seed, did come in and now comes into this game with a 25-9 record. They were in the Association of Independent Institutions, and I will say I'm very familiar with York College because they have been, until this year, this will be the last year, they have been in the same conference with College of the Ozarks since about the mid-90s. So I've seen a lot of York College. Here's a drive to the basket by Indiana Wesleyan, and that's Mahurin again that gets the basket. He has all 4 Wildcat points. It's 4-0 Indiana Wesleyan to the early lead. Now, having said that, we've seen Indiana Wesleyan a lot in this tournament, in the championship. They are a national champion. That happened in 2014, just 2 years ago. Here's a steal, coast to coast, layup up, and will roll in. And a quick timeout called by Delton Deal as the Panthers get off to a slow start. 6-0 Indiana Wesleyan with the early lead on York. And this is actually going to be a full timeout taken by York. And you don't often see a full timeout taken before we get 2 minutes in, but Delton Deal, I think, realizing that he needs to deliver a very direct and detailed message to his team about getting things underway.
York's coach feeling like that he don't want this game to get away from him here in the first 2 or 3 minutes, so he expends one of the timeouts and tries to get his team kind of settled in, maybe come back out with a play that he feels like that they can score on, get on the board. And you were talking about both these teams playing in some really tough games yesterday, very close games, so both of these teams really don't have the advantage as far as like having quotation marks easy game yesterday, because both of them were extended till the very end. So both emotional wins yesterday, so it'll come down to see who can establish their game on the floor tonight.
83-79, and I misspoke, it was a 4-point win for Indiana Wesleyan. That Northwest Christian game, many, including myself, may put that on one of a top 10 list of all-time games in this championship, because it was a quality college basketball game. But not lacking for assignment was the game between York and Dakota Wesleyan that was won by York 72-71 as they moved into this championship quarterfinal. They are trying to join Davenport. This would be the team that one of these teams would play on Monday night. The other winners earlier today, St. Francis and Indiana University East. And we'll talk more about that as we go through. 6-0, York finds themselves with an early deficit. Inside, it is going to be a layup, and that right there is Marcus Price getting open under the basket and finally getting York on track.
And that's why you take a timeout 2 minutes in and down 6-0, get an easy shot in underneath, get his team on the scoreboard, which he was able to do with Coach Deal, and we got a shot at the other end, and York right back.
Trying to get Cameron Coleman, and Coleman has to deflect the ball back inbounds as there was a long throw, but did so successfully, and the Panthers will set it up. Cameron Coleman was the Player of the Year in the Association of the Independent Institutions. A solid player in both rounds. Here's a steal as Price throws the ball away, and it's picked up by Jacob Johnson for Indiana Wesleyan. We mentioned Indiana Wesleyan. They were the 2014 national champions. They were a number 5 seed that year. and they ended up beating Midland out of Nebraska in the championship game. Were the number 1 seed coming in last year, but knocked off by, guess who? Davenport in the quarterfinal round. So they may meet in the semifinals. Davenport and York have a little history too. We'll talk about that as we go along. So a little history either way you look at it. Indiana Wesleyan gets another basket. Lane Mehurin off to a hot start. He has 6 points. All inside. Mehurin has 6 of Indiana Wesleyan's 8.
And Marlin, one of the better point guards in this championship, is you get open, he's going to find you inside. Plus, Marlin can shoot the ball, as we found out yesterday.
Here's a 3 that's knocked down from the right side by Johnny Cooksey. Cooksey, the junior from Shreveport, Louisiana, and York climbs back to within 3 at 8-5. One thing we found about York in these first 2 games is they will not give up and they'll not give in. They'll hang in there as they did in both of their wins to get the victory. Down court is Cooksey after the miss by Indiana Wesleyan, and Cooksey's going to travel. I think Johnny Marlin set up inside and set right at the free throw line, and Cooksey tried to avoid him, and in doing so, he already picked up his dribble and trying to pivot, he shuffled the feet.
It was going to be a charge one way or a turnover one way, so rather than commit his first foul, Johnny Cooksey went ahead and traveled and turned it over back to Indiana Wesleyan.
We told you about York, about the history of Indiana Wesleyan and Davenport. Davenport lost a first-round game to York in 2013. Davenport was the number 9 seed that year in overtime, 78-77, and then York lost in overtime later on in that championship. Here's a layup that's going to be up and in. And that is going to be good by Nate Bubash. Bubash with his first basket of the ball game.
And he got open in there, and again, Johnny Marlin finds him, and then you start concentrating on keeping him from passing the ball, he being Johnny Marlin, then he's going to hurt you from the outside with his shooting ability.
Indiana Wesleyan ranked number 5 in the final poll of the NAIA Top 25 schools. York was receiving votes in that poll. Again, getting one of the automatic bids from the Association of Independent Institutions. Indiana Wesleyan getting one of the Crossroads Conference bids. Here's a 3 outsider, make it a 2 outside. Put on the line for Chris Smith as York gets another basket, 10-7 to score. Indiana Wesleyan finishing a very tough season in the Crossroads Conference that also saw Bethel and St. Francis out of that conference, making it here. Another basket by Indiana Wesleyan. That is going to be Johnny Marlin who gets the basket. 12-7, Indiana Wesleyan with the advantage. Outside it goes to York. They're going to try a shot just inside the arc. That's going to be no good. That one missed by Trevor Lanier, who just came in. 12-7, Indiana Wesleyan leads. Make it 15-7, Indiana Wesleyan leads as Bob Peters hits the long-range jumper.
That was long range out on the left baseline, right in the corner, and about as far out as you can get in that corner position, but he took the ball and just squared up and shot the ball straight through.
For the season, Indiana Wesleyan shoots 52% from the field. That is an outstanding percentage in college basketball as a team to be over 50%. A ball tipped out of bounds in the backcourt. Indiana Wesleyan deflected it back there. York just lets it go, and they'll bring the ball up. Clock stops at 14:22 to go here in the second half.
And you were talking about York as far as they stay in the game no matter what the score is or what's going on, and that's with the underdog tag that they come in here with being a number 8 seed in their particular pod. They felt like they had something to prove, and so whenever you get down, they're not going to quit on you by any stretch of the imagination.
Basket is waved off, even though York was not very happy with the call, as I'll be honest, it kind of looked like he was starting in the shooting motion, even though he was far away from the basket. But the official said not enough in the shooting motion, so they will wave off the basket made by Smith on the break, and the foul will be called on Nate Bubash for Indiana Wesleyan.
2 fouls apiece team-wise here with 14-17 to go in the first half.
Long pass comes inbounds to Smith. Goes to the right side, left side we should say. Looks for help, will get it to the top of the key. Cooksey. Tries to find a way inside, spins at the free throw line, and will drop it down. Nice move by Johnny Cooksey. 5 points for Cooksey, 15-9. Indiana Wesleyan's lead down to 6. York has had a good defensive year, but their defense will be tested by the likes of Jacob Johnson, who gets a nice pass from the outside and drops it down. An 8-point lead again for the Wildcats. We mentioned this in several of our conversations, and I think I told this story maybe last night on the broadcast. We'll cover first the Johnny Cooksey 3. He has 8. York back to within 5 at 17-12. Grant Evans for Indiana Wesleyan. Again, they'll play several rotations. The Wildcats will. Several folks involved. Here's a shot blocked inside. That's going up to get that one was Michael Johnson. Down at the other end, the layup will be up and in. A spin by Darian Tolliver, and now it's Indiana Wesleyan that needs a timeout. 17-14, Indiana Wesleyan's lead down to 3. 13:07 to go in the first half. The Prairie student athlete has a great ring to it, joins 60,000 others who feel the same way. You'll never run out of room to grow on the court, in the classroom, and as a person. Learn more at naia.org. I told this story, I think I told this story last time, but I know I've done this on, we've done several broadcasts. You never remember where you told, if it was in the hospitality room. But I said, had a chance to see York many, many years. They've been in the same league, the now defunct Midland Collegiate Athletic Conference, which went out of existence last year. York eventually heading to the KCAC next year, but had a transition year in the Associated Independent Institutions. But covering basketball on a regular basis, like I do for College of the Ozarks, you see York a lot. And traveled with the team to York, Nebraska this year, and then also did the game here at Keeter. And Steve Shepard in one of our conversations said the difference with York this year is they've always been able to get up and down the court and do some scoring when they need to. But he says their defense is the best that's been in the 6 years Delton Deal's in there. And he said, you know, right circumstances, they could make a run in a championship like this with the defense they're playing. And their defense, and Delton Deal, in talking with him before the game, you know, said the same thing. That, you know what, our defense is what has gotten us here. We make key stops when we need to and use our speed on defense as much as offense, and hence they're here in the national quarterfinals.
And a lot of people talk about offense as the first shot is put up and in by Bob Peters on a 2-shot foul, but a lot of people talk about offense and how offenses need to gel and understand what everyone's going to do. Well, it's just important defensively that you understand the rotations out there on the floor, not rotations of players, but a rotation out there on the floor and who's going to cover what. And that makes a big difference once you understand that defensive concept.
That 2 free throws by Indiana Wesleyan ended the run for York, and then York is going to turn the ball over. So now the lead back to 5 for Indiana Wesleyan, 19-14, with 12:40 to go here in the first half. Indiana Wesleyan basketball. Grant Evans across midcourt in the corner, and the ball's going to be stolen. More of that defense. Here's Cooksey giving the ball up. Shot is going to be no good, blocked out of bounds on the follow-up, and it will go back to York. You know, nice pass inside, but looked like the Tolliver maybe just didn't go quite strong enough to the basket. Instead of just trying to tip it in, square up and get more on it. Luckily for York, they do get another shot clock as the ball hit the rim and did recover the rebound. Cross court it goes. Quick release 3 up and down. That is Kabare.
Nahum Kabare hits the 3 from the cross-court pass from Cooksey, and that brings it right back to a 19-17 lead for Indiana Wesleyan.
Naaman Kabari with the basket there, and then a traveling call at the other end, called on Indiana Wesleyan. So now York with a chance to tie or take the lead with a basket. The 2 victories for York, they knocked off the number 1 seed in this Dewar bracket, St. Francis, on Thursday, 87-79. And then a wild one last night against Dakota Wesleyan. Several back and forth sequences in the last 5 minutes, but York preventing Dakota Wesleyan from getting a potential game-winning shot up, held on for a 1-point win and got him into this quarterfinal.
And how did York do it? By their defense, and that's what we were talking about in the possession prior to this, as Tolliver gets fouled in underneath. But yes, their defense won their game last night simply because wouldn't allow the opposition to put up a shot and have a chance to win the game. Foul's going to go against Johnson of the Wildcats, his first.
It's 19-17 right now, and they haven't even updated the stat here on one of them, but right now, shooting percentage 73% to 68%. Indiana Wesleyan and York. Now 63% for York. Here's a shot that's going to go down as well to tie the ball game. Johnny Cooksey already in double figures with 10 and is tied at 19.
Just 5'11", but he plays a lot taller and a lot quicker than what he really is out there because he can get up and down the floor. But now then back to run the point is Marlin for the Wildcats.
19 all our score. Left side, Mahurin looks up, gets it back out. Marlin will reset the balance with 5 to shoot. Indiana Wesleyan has to hurry. Here's a long three. Bingo! As Johnny Marlin knocks down the long three. Indiana Wesleyan knows how to play in clutch situations, as we discovered last night when they beat Northwest Christian in the last minute.
And Johnny Marlin has plenty of those daggers in his repertoire because he just showed one of them, pulled one out of his pocket and hit one from about 27 feet out, but he can do that all night long.
He just showed another one by getting a steal, feeding inside, counted and one for Mayhor.
Mayhor cut down the lane, and who got him the ball? Johnny Marlin, and was able to get the shot and draw the foul.
All right, so let's summarize this. What Johnny Marlin has done in the last 30 seconds is he hit a big shot at the other end. He comes down to this end, gets a steal, and then comes down to the other end and gets an assist.
So point guard. That's the job of the point guard. What does he do? Everything for you.
He did a little bit of that. They do miss the free throw, though. But that is a quick 5-0 run for Indiana Wesleyan. Showing you, and this is with all due respect, show you why they're Indiana Wesleyan.
Yes.
One of the most solid fundamental teams that's here year in and year out. And yes, I'll have to admit I'm a big fan of York because they're in our conference. I'm also a fan of Indiana Wesleyan because, just to be blunt about it, Indiana Wesleyan, like several of the other teams that we have here, play basketball the right way. Very hard, very nose, fundamentally sound. Here's a miss. Indiana Wesleyan on the fast break. Down low, in. Layup is good. Perfect example right there. As Mahurin finishes the fast break, everyone filled their lane. Everyone got to the spot. Now a 7-0 run for Indiana Wesleyan.
And nobody stopped at half court and watched from the other end. They continued to run all the way through. And whenever you run all the way through, you're going to get something. Plus, it opens up more and more options to be able to do that against the defense.
Here is Coleman to the basket. Misses. A tip also no good. Rebound eventually tipped out and picked up by Indiana Wesleyan. Here's Marlin with it. Johnny Marlin quickly across midcourt, just goes coast to coast and gets the layup. And now it's Delton Deal and York that needs a timeout. As sparred a lot by the play of Johnny Marlin, but he had plenty of help as well. It is now an 8, make it a 9-0 run for Indiana Wesleyan, and they're up by 9, 28-19. The NAI provides exclusive opportunities for over 60,000 student athletes to achieve academically while competing for the love of the game. Register to get in the game at playnai.org.
Another mark of a good team, Indiana Wesleyan. Take advantage of your opposition's mistakes, make them pay for it at the other end, or sometimes, not particularly York, but sometimes you can take advantage of your opposition's laziness as far as like stopping and catching a breath or whatever. The Indiana Wesleyan has so many players, they run in and out of there. They go full speed all the time, 100% of the time.
You know, and when you say that, people will go, well, you mean other teams are lazy?
No.
Here it is. It's human nature that on occasion you're going to slow up. You cannot do that against Indiana Wesleyan because they will burn you every time. And Indiana Wesleyan going full tilt to get that 9-0 run to take the 9-point lead. Shot clock down to 15. Cooksey goes over on the left side. Drive to the basket. This is Kabari. His shot off the glass, no good. Fight for the rebound, picked up. And we're going to actually have a timeout as it looks like Cameron Coleman is hurt in the corner. And
I don't know if he came down wrong. I mean, he's upright and kind of bent over it a little bit, but I don't know if it's a knee or an ankle.
Maybe he felt something. He's going to limp off the court.
Might have felt something pop.
He must have.
Sure. That'll be a big gap to fill for York.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a brace or something on that leg, and I don't know because where we sit, we were screened out. Probably the viewers at home had a pretty good look at what happened there.
But he immediately stopped running, stopped moving at all, and told the official he needed timeout and get off the floor, and that's what happened. So hopefully he'll be all right. But for himself, plus the Panthers, big part of their attack.
Yeah, huge part of the attack, kind of centered around him. Here's a 3-ball, no good. That one missed by Cooksey, and the rebound will come out long to Indiana Wesleyan. Wesleyan with a 28-19 lead and the ball again on a 9-0 run after York had come back to tie it at 19. We're at 8:45 to go in the first half. Marlin inside. They just lost him, and that was Mahurin. They lost inside. He's in double figures with 10.
Just like that, you turn your head defensively, and they're going to go back door, they being the Wildcats. The Wildcats found the defense kind of looked the other way, and Mahurin alertly cut to the basket and was able to get a pass from Marlin.
30-19 the score. Drive to the basket. Here's a shot inside. That one will roll in, ending the 11-0 run as Marcus Price gets the lay-in. 30-21. IWU on top. 9-point advantage. Marlin bounces it on the baseline. Open three in the corner. That one drops down for Lane Mahurin. He has 13 for the Wildcats.
And they're working on the knee over there of Cameron Coleman, so hopefully he'll be able to come back in, maybe get a wrap or some ice on it, whatever it needs to be, so he can get back in this ball game.
Reach in, but not able to get the ball away, and eventually the layup will go in by Trevor Lanier. Lanier's first basket cuts the lead to 10. 33-23, down to 7:33 to go in the first half. Good save by Marlin there. He gets the ball back from the corner. Trevor Waite got the ball and gave it back to him. Lob inside is going to be a little bit too far, and I think that Mahurin was not expecting the ball, and by the time he realized where it was going, it was thrown too far and out of his reach.
So Marlin's going to take a seat over there alongside Coach Tonigal.
And they're going to take Cameron Coleman he's going back to the locker room. Here's a steal by Indiana Wesleyan while we were looking at Cameron Coleman. Trevor Waite just sitting there, and he steals the ball, and all of a sudden it's 35-23. The lead for Indiana Wesleyan is 12. Inside it goes to the baseline. Kick back out. Lanier drives in. His one-hander off the glass, no good. And a foul called, and free throws coming up.
Going to go against Grant Evans, his second for the Wildcats.
While he's at the line, we'll remind you what happened earlier. The number 1 seed in the Naismith bracket, St. Francis, pulled away from Kaiser. A surprisingly easy win, to be honest with you, 80-53 the final. St. Francis, the overall number 1 seed, moves into the semifinals. Indiana University East proving that numbers mean nothing. They are a 7th seed, and guess where they're going? In the semifinals as they knocked off number 1 Briarcliff. Dave and I actually did that game on the NAI radio network earlier today. And I tell you what, a thrilling game, and give all props to Indiana University East. They came out ready to play, and they are on a roll right now. And they are going to play in the semifinals on Monday. Here's a foul on a 3, as going up for the shot was Bob Peters. And the defender, I believe Terrence Cole, was the one that was over there and ran into him, and that's going to be his 3rd foul.
Or three shots,
sorry,
excuse me.
Looked at the wrong line there. Only 1 foul, but it is 3 free throws coming up.
Let me do some
Bob Peters.
housekeeping at the other end. Last time the Wildcat foul, I said Grant Evans, when in fact the foul was called on Lane Mahurin. So Grant Evans still with the 1 foul, and Lane Mahurin now with 1 foul for the Wildcats.
First free throw was missed. Second one also missed. So actually, York's going to come out of here pretty good, as the best he can do is get 1 point, but the bad news is York is still down by 12 right now, and they need to get their offense going. Peters will get the final one. He is up to 8 points. It is a 36-23 Indiana Wesleyan lead with 6:35 to go in the first half. York 3 in the corner. Good. That one's going to be good for Trevor Lanier. And York has done this a lot during the championship. They were down double digits to St. Francis of Illinois in the first round and came back and won. Now they've got it back down to 10, and they try a lob inside. Nice save, but unfortunately the ball went to a York player when it was saved. And on the run is Chris Smith. Goes in the corner. Shot for 3 by Lanier. Up, no good. Rebound tipped, controlled, out it goes. Another attempt to 3. He's up. That one's going to be no good. Rebound is knocked out of bounds off of York. Going to go to Indiana Wesleyan. As it was Johnson that hit it, but he couldn't grab it as it got knocked out of bounds.
So coming back in for the Wildcats, Josh Mulhorn. and also coming back in, Johnny Marlin.
36-26, Indiana Wesleyan with the lead over York. 5:55 to go here in the first half of the NAI Division II Men's National Basketball Championships from College of the Ozarks. Scott McCauley along with Dave Beckett as we wrap up our quarterfinal round. Shot, 3-ball, corner pocket, counted for Grant Evans. And Indiana Wesleyan getting some distance now, back up by 13, 39-26.
So many shooters, Indiana Wesleyan's got lots of weapons, not only inside, but so many outside shooters that they've got. As we got a shot from the outside put up, and coming away with the rebound is Josh Mahorn.
Indiana Wesleyan 3 at the other end. Marlin has it hit off the side rim, and the rebound brought down by Lanier. Here come the Panthers on the run. Indiana Wesleyan quickly back on defense because it was a fast break situation, so many just kind of did a 180 and got back the other direction. Smith has it, dribbles around the perimeter, shovels it inside. Posting up is Price. He gets the shot off the glass and in. Marcus Price with 6.
Price can get the ball down that deep. It's going to be very tough for the Wildcats to keep him from scoring without fouling him, as that time he was able to post up and go up and score easily.
This time posting up and scoring easily at the other end is Lane Mahurin. He has 15 of York's 41 here, or excuse me, Indiana Wesleyan's 41 in the first half. It is a 41-28 advantage for the Wildcats. Clock is at 4:30 here in the opening half. Terrence Cole finds nothing inside, so he'll kick it outside. 3 is short, and it's Peters with a rebound for Indiana Wesleyan. To Marlin. Marlin stops, bounces it inside. Heron tries to post up. Instead, he'll go back out, kick it up, no good. Here's a fast break by York. It's a 3-on-3 break. Losing control and then losing the ball out of bounds. The Panthers, as Cole lost control, he threw a bad pass to Smith who couldn't handle it, and it goes out of bounds.
And threw it to Chris Smith, and Chris was looking on the inside to see where he could throw the ball once he caught it, but got to catch it first before you can throw it, and took his eye off the ball and it went out of bounds.
And we're going to have a timeout called by Indiana Wesleyan. They'll take the timeout with 4:04 to go in the first half. Right now they have a 13-point lead on the York College Panthers. It's Indiana Wesleyan 41 and York 28. Fans interested in ordering photographs from all of the games at the National Championship should visit www.ciphotography.com. You can go to naia.org and see the work that Brian and Matt have done, and some great pictures they've come up with of this national championship that's been, we always say it's a good one. I've been here for all 17 of them. Dave's been a spectator for a lot of them and worked with us over the last few years here on our coverage on NAI.org and our radio network. And it is, we've certainly had some special games. And looking back at what we've seen so far, and as I said, Dave and I did the Briarcliff Indiana University East game on our radio network earlier today. And it goes to show that a team can make something happen in a championship. York kind of an example of that too, even though they're down here right now. Of whatever happens in the regular season, it's a new season when you get here. Indiana University East is just saying, hey, we're 0-0. Now they're 3-0 heading to the semifinals.
And a lot of times at the end of the season, basketball is a long, long season. You've got 30, 35 games, and a lot of times you get an injury or an illness, especially in the middle part of the season or something like that. If you're fortunate enough to time that unfortunate injury or illness in the middle of the season, you want to be your most opportune players being able to play at full speed and healthy at the end of the season. So a lot of times you might have a deceiving record because of injuries or defections or whatever, or chemistry, but you want to be playing your best and playing your most healthy at the end of the season. And got to say York's playing its best all year long.
Oh, very nice. And we'll follow up a little bit on that after this basket made by Indiana Wesleyan. That's going to be Jacob Johnson that gets it inside. 43-28 the score. And the ball tipped, deflected outside. Last touch by York. Actually, last touch by me as I got the ball from behind and threw it with my left hand, my weak hand.
Is that why you missed that layup? You're shooting with a weak hand.
Well, that's why I missed that donut in the hospitality room. That's really what's happening.
I caught it. I backed you up. I caught it, nailed it for you.
Yeah, you got the whole dozen there. 43-28, 3:25 to go in the first half. Yes, we do eat a little bit here, no doubt. Jacob Johnson off the glass, no good. Follow-up up and in. That's Aaron Murray who gets the basket, his first of the game. And this is a 17-point lead for Indiana Wesleyan, 45-28. And a foul going to be called on Indiana Wesleyan on the drive to the basket by York's Johnny Cooksey. 5th team foul.
45 points Indiana Wesleyan's got with 3:13 to go in the first half. 9 different players have scored already. That shows you the depth and the good teamwork that this team has got, Indiana Wesleyan, and Coach Tonigal uses them all. Whenever you're good enough to play, you're going to be out there on the floor sometime, and 9 different players already scored.
45-28, kick outside, shot for 3. York needs one of these to go. That one doesn't. And the rebound to Indiana Wesleyan. The Wildcats on the run with the fast break. Everyone filling a lane. That shot rolls in and out, no good. Rebound tipped and picked up by York. Panthers the other way. Cooksey will go down the right side. In the lane, ball was a little bit low, couldn't be handled by Tolliver. Indiana Wesleyan the other way. Behind everybody for the layup will be Trevor Waite. And you need to amend that number. That is now the 10th player to score for Indiana Wesleyan here in the first half. They lead by 19.
And another example, you run the floor, you're going to get the ball. And that time Waite just beat everybody to the other end and caught the pass, was able to score easily simply because York wasn't quick enough to get down back on defense.
47-28, 2:15 to go in the first half. Cooksey, top of the key, has his pass blocked, and here comes a coast-to-coast layup by Johnny Marlin.
And another thing about that, as far as not being able to get back defensively, we've got another timeout.
No, we don't.
No.
No, he didn't call a timeout. I think he thought he called a timeout, but he didn't.
Maybe.
I think what he saw is he saw Delton Deal get up, and he was going to get a player off the bench, and the official just assumed it was a timeout, but it wasn't.
But the point I was going to make right there, another breakaway layup without the defense getting back there. A lot of times that's simply because of the depth of one team, and you can rest those players, and they're a little bit quicker with 2 minutes to go in the first half. And York not having the depth that Indiana Wesleyan's got.
And minus their big player of the year
Yes.
from the conference, who's in the training room getting a knee attended to right now. Drive to the basket, lost the handle on it. Darren Tolliver did, so it goes back to Indiana Wesleyan, and a chance to add to their 21-point lead, which is now going to be 23 off the putback by Aaron Murray.
Aaron Murray right there to clean up the glass. Mahurin put the ball up a little bit too hard, but Murray was right there and put the offensive rebound in.
Here's a 3 ball, right wing, no good. Long rebound, though, does come out, and York will get another shot at it. In the corner, another 3. That one's going to be blocked. Rebound put down, and they're going to call a foul on Indiana Wesleyan on the rebound. Austin Bean is in the ball game for York, a sophomore. And I'll have to be honest, I didn't see him play very much at all this year in any of the York games. But I think right now, with Coleman out of the game, I think Delton Deal's just trying to find something that's going to work here to try to, at some point, keep his team in this.
Changes all your rotation and everything whenever you lose a key player such as Cameron Coleman.
1:18 to go first half. Bean wanted to try a 3, and he's going to be knocked down if they call a foul.
It'll be a foul, but it might be a 1-and-1 rather than a 3, which it's going to be.
Yeah, he wanted to shoot, but
sell.
Well, I think to be honest with you, I think what he wanted to do is I think he was trying to shoot, and then as he was trying to get in position and got run into, and never had a chance to get back up in the shooting motion. So he's going to get a 1 on the bonus.
Since that is the 7th team foul against Indiana Wesleyan, is the first one put up and in.
Okay, so Bean gets on the board. Right now, York is just trying to
get to halftime.
It's like a car's racing away. He's trying to keep the tail lights at least in someone inside here going to halftime.
They're trying to get a little bit of draft of some sort.
Well, exactly. 1:10 to go here first half. You know, York, as good as they are defensively, and they are a good offensive team, but, you know, this is a team that maybe doesn't score as many points as York team would in the past, so they really have to buckle down and do what they can to try to get this lead, if anything, back under 20. There's going to be a player control foul called on Indiana Wesleyan underneath the basket. They are going to get Aaron Murray for the foul, 8th team foul.
And no free throw shot because of the player control is an offensive foul, just like an illegal screen or a charge.
Dribbling down low, this is Smith. It goes out of bounds, tipped out of bounds by Trevor Waite. It will stay with the Panthers. 55 seconds to go, first half. Indiana Wesleyan with a huge first half as it is, and here's a big defensive play as they try to throw the ball in bounds. The ball knocked out by Aaron Murray, then deflected off a York player. So it will go back to Indiana Wesleyan. 54 seconds to go. 51-30 the score. Indiana Wesleyan halfway to 100.
York tried to thread the needle on that out-of-bounds play underneath their own basket, and rather than go ahead and just get the safety pass in there, tried to get it inside and throws it out of bounds, and Indiana Wesleyan back on the attack.
As Indiana Wesleyan needs any air help, they got the arrow going their way to the second half. How about a dunk? How about Aaron Murray with 6? Indiana Wesleyan putting on a clinic here in the first half.
You could see Aaron Murray's eyes light up from here as he saw that pass coming, and he was able to throw it down, got a shot at the other end, and here comes Indiana Wesleyan for the final shot of the first half.
As the shot clock is off, 20 seconds to go.
Unless get another dunk. More than likely going to settle down and let the clock run down to about 8 seconds to go and then start their offense.
How about this? Right now, a 39-11 run. Make it a 41-11 run as Lane Mahurin gets the basket. We were tied at 19 about midway through the first half. Since that time, it has been all York. Trevor Waite along with a 3 by Grant Evans in the first half. Johnny Cooksey had 10 in the first half for York. 6 for Marcus Price. 5 for Trevor Lanier and a 3 for Damon Kabari, along with 2 by Chris Smith and Damon Tolliver, along with Austin Bean with a couple of free throws.
Got a whistle and a charging foul against Lane Mahurin of Indiana Wesleyan to start the second half. Looking at the bench, good news, bad news. The good news is for York is that Cameron Coleman is over there on the bench. The bad news is he's got an ice pack on his knee, so unfortunately it doesn't look like he's going to be able to play, and that's a shame in the national championships that you can't finish out the season, but sometimes those injuries happen, and too bad for Mr. Coleman.
Coleman is a junior, however, and so I wish the KCAC good luck in trying to defend him next year.
Yes.
The Midlands and Independent Association didn't have much luck. We'll see how you can do against him. He is a fine player.
And he'll get better and better if he can get over this injury from this knee.
Yeah. Going to the free throw line, Indiana Wesleyan has a foul call. Lane Mahurin will go to the line. They'll call the foul on Marcus Price. Now looking at the makeup of the team, and as we said earlier, Delton Deals Ball Club will be a member of the Kansas Collegiate Athletic Conference next year. They do lose some key players, 1, 2, 3, 4 seniors, but they do have some very key players, Cameron Coleman among them, that will be back next year. First free throw was good by Mahurin, second one was not. Indiana Wesleyan 56-30 lead right now as we're just underway here in the second half. A drive and a foul call.
Foul's going to go against Indiana Wesleyan. And I think it's going to be ball out.
Yeah, they're going to call ball out on that one. As we said, I was in the process of updating the scores and had a discrepancy, but they fixed it.
No, they changed it to Johnson, his third, instead of Mahurin.
So Johnson gets his third foul. Mahurin up to 16 points, so we'll get the score sheets taken care of. And now back to what's going on the court. Because I can look at that a lot better than the scribbling that's on my score pad right now.
I'm glad somebody else don't have to read your hieroglyphics. As Price gets the turnaround to go inside for York.
People instead with writing like mine, I ought to be a doctor. 56-32 the score as Indiana Wesleyan with the lead, trying for their first field goal of the second half. They won't, as the shot is blocked. They get the outlet pass down court. Lanier is going to be fouled as he goes to the basket.
Johnny Marlin whistle for his first foul, and a good foul, because otherwise it's going to be a layup at the other end. So Johnny Marlin was able to just kind of get in the way and commit the foul, and it'll be ball out underneath. You're going to be on the side.
You know, you look at the score, it's 56-32 right now, and that's a 24-point margin that faces York. And it looks to be an uphill battle, but if you're York, if you're Delton Deal, I mean, the best you're going to do here is at least continue to grind away, and maybe all of a sudden you look up and maybe you're down 10 fewer points or something like that, and maybe can start talking a comeback. But until you do that, I mean, it's going to be back and forth. Indiana Wesleyan will keep the pressure on. They're not going to let up. So it's going to be incumbent on them to try to do something. They're going to get a steal here. This is Marcus Price that comes out of there with it. He's at the free throw line, drives in. Counted and one for Marcus Price.
Marcus Price showing some ability to handle the ball as he gets the defensive rebound and then drives it the length of the floor. And then Indiana Wesleyan trying to draw the charging foul, but a block was called on Bob Peters. So a 3-point play here for Marcus Price after he drives the length of the floor.
First free throw on the way is up and good. Only free throw, 3-point play as Price now in double figures with 11. He's York's leading scorer. 56-35. We have played 2 minutes of the second half as York has closed the gap to 21. Still has a way to go. Only one free throw so far in Indiana Wesleyan's repertoire for the first part of the half, but that'll possibly change as free throws coming up for Lane Mahurin.
That was called number 22, Darion Tolliver.
As they get Tolliver with the foul. And at the free throw line, Mahurin, who leads his team with 16 points. He made it 1 of 2 a moment ago. Free throw is good. 17 for Mahurin. Talk about a tough conference. Let's talk about the Crossroads League. 3 teams here, but all of them top 25 teams. In Bethel, they got eliminated yesterday by Briarcliff. That's a game that Dave and I had a chance to do on radio, and Bethel almost pulled that one out, coming from 21 down to nearly get that game away from Briarcliff, but not able to complete the comeback. St. Francis, who's still around as the overall #1 team, and this Indiana Wesleyan team. Here's a layup by York's Darion Tolliver. 4 points for Tolliver, and now a steal as they're going to force the ball out of bounds, and now timeout going to be called by Indiana Wesleyan. Indiana Wesleyan takes a timeout, 58-37, and even though there's still a big lead, they don't really want this to get any closer than it needs to be. So Indiana Wesleyan 58-37. Finish the thought on the Crossroads League. St. Francis was the regular season champion as they beat Indiana Wesleyan by 1 in the league championship game, and they get 2 bids, so both got the automatic bid. St. Francis beat Indiana Wesleyan 2 times, and you know, it's funny, but we were having a conversation with Jim Brunner, who's their radio guy, who's in fact sitting just a couple of chairs down doing the game back to the folks in Marion, Indiana, and he told us that their 3 lowest outputs offensively this year were against St. Francis first, St. Francis second, and St. Francis third. And, you know, we noted that in the game against Kaiser, they held them to 53 points, and that is St. Francis. We talk about defense and national championships, and they are not letting people score against it.
And can you imagine going against defenses such as that magnitude, whether it's St. Francis or Indiana Wesleyan, night in and night out in that conference? It's very tough to be able to score in that conference.
Indiana Wesleyan ball, they're heading our way, but they won't get here. As David jumped in front of the equipment. Thank you very much. Here's a reverse layup. That's good. What a nice play by Lane Mahurin. He has 20, and Indiana Wesleyan is up to a 60-37 lead. That lead is 23. And a steal. Indiana Wesleyan, I think, got Greg Tonicle's message. He said, you know what, start playing again.
Get back in the passing lanes and get out there and get that defensive intensity that you had the first half. That's how we got here, so let's get it back.
I think message received.
Yes,
based
absolutely.
on what just happened over here in the last few minutes.
Had a run out at the other end and thrown just a little bit too far and was out of the reach of Mahurin's reach, so it's going to turn it back over to York, but credit the defensive pressure.
Inside layup will be good by Johnny Cooksey on a nice pass inside. That gets Cooksey to 12 points. 60-39, 21-point advantage. Marlin drives to the hoop, pulls up within 5 in the lane, banks it off the glass and in. Johnny Marlin with 13.
No one to pass to, so Marlin just went ahead and shot the easy 5-footer inside.
Cooksey gets it off to Price. Price fadeaway jumper is good. 13 for Marcus Price. He's now York's leading scorer. But playing even won't help York, as that keeps Indiana Wesleyan at a big advantage. York, again, a good defensive ball club, but you know, look, when a team shoots 75% in the first half like Indiana Wesleyan does, I mean, and not all those were easy shots, but they did get a lot of shots in the paint, and I think maybe taking advantage of Cameron Coleman's absence in there. Basket good on the baseline by Bob Peters. He's now in double figures with 10. 64-41, 15:43 to go.
But to shoot that type of percentage, to extend your point a little bit, you've got to run your offense. So you're very familiar with that. Yes, you get some layups, but also you know where each other's at, and you get the shot in a comfortable position for the shooters to shoot. A lot of shooters, if you don't get it in a certain position, you're not very comfortable with that position on the floor.
Nice run to the basket by Price. Price gets the layup. It is 64-43. 15-10 to go. Indiana Wesleyan right now firmly in control of this one. Marlin has it right side. Goes over left side. Drive to the hoop. One-handed shot. That was a hook shot that had a little air to it, and it goes, not only does it miss the rim, but it also misses the backboard, but it also barely misses the 30-second shot clock as it rolled out of bounds.
Let's cut Mr. Bball a little bit of credit. As he was going across and getting in position to throw that hook up, kind of come out of his hand, and then he kind of swatted the ball and went up and over. So I know that he can shoot better than what that looked like.
We don't want the facts to stand in the way of a good story.
No.
64-43, 14:50 to go here in the contest. Drive by Lanier. He passes it in the corner. Shot hits short off the backboard and rebounded by Indiana Wesleyan. They're going to go down court, throw the ball away, and then a foul called as they're going to whistle Marlin for the foul, trying to stop the York breakaway. 64-43, 14:37 to go. Again, already in the national semifinals. We were talking about the Crossroads League. Indiana Wesleyan was the second place team. The first place team, St. Francis, is going to be part of that semifinal. Indiana University East, the number 7 seed on that side of the bracket, the Kramer bracket, they end up beating Briarcliff in a 2-point game that was a dandy today, as a basket there will be down by Marcus Price, as Price pushes his total to 17. Taking up some of the slack for the absence of Cameron Coleman, who got injured in the first half. But still York with a big deficit. So Indiana University East and then Davenport in the Wolverine Hoosier Conference. Those are represented, and right now Indiana Wesleyan trying to become the second team from the Crossroads to make it to the Final Four. 3 by Marlin is no good. And knocked out of bounds, and will go back to York. York, Nebraska, South Central Nebraska. As I mentioned earlier, College of the Ozarks is the team I call for, and until this year, York has been in the conference, so we've made several trips to York, Nebraska.
That's not a cakewalk either, is it?
No, it's actually was the longest trip, except for the couple years Waldorf was in the conference. That was the longest trip, about an 8-hour drive, and not an easy drive either. But York with a good team this year that has made a run here in the national championship. But they got some work to do to keep it going as they trail 64-45. Drive, hook shot up, no good. Rebound down to Indiana Wesleyan, then stolen by York, but then stolen right back by Indiana Wesleyan. Stolen right back by York. Crash in the corner, and we'll see what comes out of this.
A foul is called with the official holding up his fist. It says that it's a foul against Indiana Wesleyan. And
Nick Bubash called for the foul. His second.
Didn't see who that they indicated that the foul was on, but it was against Indiana Wesleyan. It will be York basketball.
Yeah, nothing new on the board. Now they put it on the board. They're going to get the foul on Nate Bubash. That'll be his second. Already 16 fouls. So if York has one little ray of hope, is that they are going to be going to the free throw line some here in the second half, as from this point on they will be in the bonus. But still a lot of ground to make up as they are down 64-45. And here's a steal by Jacob Johnson. Johnson to the basket, scores.
Johnson goes across the lane and then reaches back with his left hand and just finger roll right over the top of the rim.
Here's a shot, no good. And the rebound brought down by York. Or by Indiana Wesleyan, off the miss by York. 66-45. 3, top of the key, drops down.
Basket for number 12.
Grant Evans,
Grant Evans.
and this is an Indiana Wesleyan runaway right now, 69-45. As the Wildcats flexing the muscles they did in the first round win over Bellevue, and when they scored a championship high 113 points. A shot for 3, that one is in and out, no good. Actually not in and out, just never hit the rim. Rebound, Price on the baseline, misses it off the rim. And Indiana Wesleyan secures the rebound. And with 12 minutes left, 100 points not out of the realm of possibility in this one.
Not at all.
Ball tipped out of bounds and goes over the head of some folks here in media row and will be along to York College. Indiana Wesleyan won that first round game over Bellevue. Interesting enough, Bellevue, another team, again familiar with, used to be in the same conference, but also a team known for defense, and the Bruins in a little bit of a rebuilding mode, even though they didn't make the championship this year. But boy, Indiana Wesleyan just took them to school. By doing that, that also should show you how good Northwest Christian is, who nearly beat this team last night. Here's a 3 by Price at the top of the key. And Marcus Price, the senior from Dallas, Texas, he leads in scoring for York with 20 points. Other way, Indiana Wesleyan quickly in the front court and a chance to set up their set. 11:50 to go. Top of the key 3 is up, and that one is no good. Rebound tipped around, picked up, and the score will go to Jacob Johnson. 8 points for the sophomore, 71-48.
Murray goes up to get the rebound, but realized he couldn't get the rebound, tipped it to his teammate, and then Johnson was able to put the shot up and in.
And here's a steal. Johnson, the recipient of a tip ball. Layup is going to be blocked out of bounds, but will stay with Indiana Wesleyan. I think Trevor Waite was the one who tipped the ball and got it ahead to Johnson, who then got it ahead, but the shot blocked out of bounds. But again, Indiana Wesleyan playing another textbook game.
And talking about this championship, the good news, if you advance to the Final Four, at least you're going to have another day off if you've already had one day off this week. So tomorrow there's no games at all, so that'll give a day to rest and kind of get your juices flowing again and come back Monday.
Nate Bubash gets the basket. It is 73-48, and Marcus Price just got called for an offensive foul as he tosses the basketball down the court. And to be honest with you, lucky he didn't get a technical for that. I think the official that would have called it was busy calling the foul and didn't see it.
Back in the game.
A little bit of frustration on Marcus Price's part. Delton Deal will take him out. Certainly can understand that frustration.
Exactly. And a good job by Coach Deal to take out his best player on the floor tonight, Marcus Price, and knows frustration set in, but yet let him sit over there and get his breath back, so to speak.
Yep, no good by Indiana Wesleyan, and here comes York on the run. Terrence Cole, kick outside. Cole's going to get the ball back and fire a 3. That will be no good, too hard. Murray with the rebound for Indiana Wesleyan. Nice crossover dribble, basket no good, but a foul as Jacob Johnson takes to the hoop, and 2 free throws could get him to double figures. Joining Lane Mahurin, Bob Peters, and Johnny Marlin. 10:42, and you're kind of to the point in the ball game now as Indiana Wesleyan continues to up the lead that Greg Tonico probably just hoping just to get this game over because they don't want a Cameron Coleman injury on their team by any stretch.
No, and if you notice, most of the starters are out for Coach Tonico. So Johnson in there shot one of his 2 free throws, made the first one.
Yeah, that's not saying they're probably out for the game, but you know the other side of it, you're still going to keep them going and probably have him and could have him in a little more. Not saying you will, but could have that option to keep him in. But you know this is a game that you can use a heavy rotation, which in addition to the day off. Will Hepp, second free throw, no good, but the interesting enough, Aaron Murray, really by standing there, the ball came right to him. He was behind one of the players, but really never got on his back.
No, just reached up and got the ball as it come across. Didn't really have to jump either, just outstretched everyone.
They throw the ball down low, and I'll tell you what kind of interesting call there is they call the ball off of York, although it looked to me like it hit an Indiana Wesleyan player when he was out of bounds, but maybe it hit the York player first, which then would make that the correct call. 20 to shoot in this possession. Down low, the ball thrown to Johnson. It's out of bounds, deflected. And with the shot clock at 18, another chance for Indiana Wesleyan, leading 74-48. Trying to join Indiana University East, Davenport, and St. Francis in the national semifinals on Monday. Ball tipped in by Jacob Johnson, who now goes to double figures with 11 points. Or I guess officially 13 points is what they have on the board, so we'll go get him 13, and he's in double figures already.
Shot put up, goes out of bounds off of Indiana Wesleyan.
We got two 20-point scorers in the ball game. Mahiran for Indiana Wesleyan and Price for York. 76-48, a 28-point lead for Indiana Wesleyan, 10:06 to go. And while we're kind of in this mode of the ball game, as we continue to see the game go on here, Indiana Wesleyan certainly not calling the game over yet, but York will have a long way to come back. But, you know, if everything holds up, you know, we'll talk especially about that first national semifinal, which we already know is set with the favored, one of the favorites in the championship, St. Francis, taking on this year's Cinderella story, Indiana University East, Mark Hester's ball club. Picking up wins. Here's another steal by Indiana Wesleyan. Down court, nice fast break, layup will roll home, and that is Nate Bubash, who has 6.
And a perfect example of the extra pass that time is it looked like that Johnson was going to take the ball all the way to the basket, but at the last second made that extra pass and got his teammate Bubash another 2 points.
At the other end, shot is no good by York, and you know, I think it's almost like York, they're still trying, but they kind of know the inevitable is coming just the way this is going. Here's another layup missed by Indiana Wesleyan. York will get the rebound this time. Left side 3 will be up, and that will drop down. Marquise Jackson gets the basket. And we are going to have a foul called on York, I guess, as they were going down court. We're going to have a timeout called here. 9:22 to go, second half. 78-51. This one right now is all York as the final quarterfinal in the final 9:22 of the NAI Division II Men's National Championship. The praised student athlete has a great ring to it. Join 60,000 others who feel the same way. You'll never run out of room to grow. On the court, in the classroom, and as a person. Learn more at NAIA.org. You know, it's been a while since we recapped this, but we will tell you that we are here with you on NAIA.org through Monday night. On Monday night, National Semifinal 1, we'll have the upset-minded Cinderella, if you will, this year, Indiana University East, taking on St. Francis. Don West and Mike McClure will have the call on that ball game. Barry Phillips and I will have the call of the second national semifinal, which will feature the winner here, taking on Davenport. And then that'll wrap up our coverage. Don't forget the championship game of the NAI Division II National Championships will be on ESPN3. Available. 6 o'clock Monday will be the start time. And as I said on every broadcast I've been on today, don't forget to spring forward tonight. I will do so gladly in my house.
Well, at least maybe you won't be up at 2 o'clock to do it at the official time, where all week since Wednesday you've been up past 2 o'clock.
Pretty much.
That time. Talking about the Final Four, if the score holds up, which is 78-51 with 9:22 to go, 3 Indiana teams, 2 from the same conference, will join Davenport, Michigan in the Final Four. So that's going to be quite a deal for the state of Indiana to have a national championship with 3 of the top 4 in that semifinal.
Yeah, and then 1 from a neighboring state. So, yeah, definitely the Indiana Great Lakes region will have definite claim to the Division II National Championship, which means I guess it's appropriate that it's being held in the Ozarks Lakes region.
There you go.
There's 2 lakes, actually 3 lakes, with just in a short drive of us here. Kick outside. Here's a shot from the free throw line that will be no good. Marquise Jackson misses that one. Indiana Wesleyan with the rebound. And then they lose it out of bounds, but save it. Nice save there. And Indiana Wesleyan's going to run some offense. They can not run over each other as they almost did on that particular play. Then Carlson back in for Indiana Wesleyan. Here's a shot in the corner. That one's going to be no good. Rebound is put back, no good. Good shooting percentage today for Indiana Wesleyan. That won't help it though, but still right now shooting 66% from the field.
We got a kicked ball by York, and it's going to go back to Indiana Wesleyan.
Dave, listen to this stat. Each team has shot 50 so far. Indiana Wesleyan has made 33, York 21. York actually has one more three-point goal than Indiana Wesleyan. But those made field goals has really been a huge difference, and they're just, rolling it up. How about this one? 46 points in the paint for Indiana Wesleyan.
For Indiana Wesleyan.
46.
And that shows you, one, that they've run their offense to get it inside, and two, a lot of them have been layups, breakaway layups at the other end by outrunning the defense and getting an easy shot inside. Back in the game is Marcus Price for York. And also back in there is Michael Johnson. So Indiana Wesleyan with the ball at their end of the floor with a fresh shot clock.
At 23 now, 18 to go in the second half. York almost gets a steal and then will, but they're going to call a foul before the steal is completed. They're going to get Chris Smith for the foul. 8:06 to go, 78-51, Indiana Wesleyan on top.
Trey Howe checks in.
Well, York has come up with a good season. It looks like it may fall a little short tonight, but we talked a little bit about this on last night's game. We did, Perry Phillips and I had the York game last night, and we were talking about this, that York had a really good run at the end of the season as they won 8 in a row. Their only loss in that stretch to break the string was a loss in the AII finals as they dropped the game up in Cedar Rapids as they lost to Mount Mercy. But they got hot at the right time and then pulled off 2 wins here at the national championships, both in close fashion. So when York's tournament history is written as the layup will be no good here, it's going to be interesting here for their appearance in the national championships. When they were here in 2013,
Mike Johnson called
both games were decided in overtime. They won one by 1 point over Davenport, as we mentioned earlier, and then lost to Midland in the second round that year. This year, and of course they may lose this one big, but then they have a 8-point win and a 1-point win. So they've been in several close games in this championship.
And that'll make you a tougher team if you can be in those close games and pull out the majority of them. That's what makes you a better team, if you can have the ability to win those close games down the stretch.
Both free throws are missed. 80-51 is our score, as Indiana Wesleyan on top over York at 7:40 to go in the contest. Winding down and getting ready for a day off for the national championships tomorrow, back with the semifinals Monday, and then we mentioned championship game on ESPN3 on Tuesday. That ball knocked out of bounds and will stay with York. 7:36 to go. Panthers to inbounds. At long it goes. That's Trey Howlett's in the ball game now for the Panthers, as Delton Deal also using his bench. 3 no good. Tipped around and picked up. Nice steal on the rebound by Howell. Although this time it will be picked up for good by Indiana Wesleyan. And back the other way they go. Grant Evans in the ball game. Again, as they have some new players in the ball game, several new players. Kylan Doubles also in the ball game. Here's a drive and a block shot inside. We'll send Josh Mayor to the line
Mike Johnson
for a couple of free throws at 7:05 to go.
Foul's going to be against York. Be the 3rd foul on Johnson.
First free throw, flames off the front rim. Jackson Murphy in the ball game. He's a freshman. So definitely a bench game as we wrap things up here in the national championship.
And some of the bench players that don't normally, as the second shot is up and good for Mahor. as he's got 3 points on, but some of the bench players being able to come in and play in a national championship, that's one of your dreams. If you know you're on the bench for most of the, unless it's a blowout, but then be able to come out and actually get on the floor and get some playing time in a tournament such as this.
81-51, a 30-point lead for Indiana Wesleyan, as
I think the ball went over the top of the backboard there and called out of bounds, and Indiana Wesleyan back on the attack.
Ball fumbled around, and York will end up picking it up going the other way. 30-point advantage right now. As the game winds down, that layup will be good by Terrence Cole. Cole gets a layup. 81-53, down to 6:20 to go. Well, as we said, a lot of times the late games have had some interesting and very exciting moments. Really, the excitement in this one was another clinic put on by Indiana Wesleyan. A clinic on how to put opponents down, and when they're in tough games, a clinic yesterday against Northwest Christian on how to win close games. Indiana Wesleyan currently going to be a tough out, and looking forward, as it looks like they're going to hold on to win this thing, to their matchup with Davenport. But, you know, and we've talked about this, no matter how you end the season, mainly because we called the game on NAI radio earlier where Briarcliff lost a heartbreaker by 2 points. We're going to have a timeout call so we can talk further about this. And then you got a situation like York, or even like Kaiser earlier in the day, that lost in a blowout. And really the Davenport game became a blowout as well, as they beat Warner today. You know, so that it doesn't really end well. But the fact of the matter, and we've said this many times, is only one team's going to win their last game here, no matter what you say, no matter how good a season you have. Most of the teams that come here are going to lose their last game. So, you know, it doesn't take away from what happens. And I said this kind of in a funny way earlier, but I will be serious for a moment, that with several of the key players coming back for York, you know, they might make a little noise in the KCAC next year, as they, you know, Tabor and Southwestern now, they actually got beat in the first round. Tabor in the upset by IU East, but, you know, not taking anything away from them. The fact of the matter is, York has shown some of the tools that I think is going to make them a very competitive team. Like I said, the team I cover, you know, couldn't beat them. They lost to them twice this year, and really, you know, even though the game stayed relatively close, it was clear they were the better team.
Exactly, and you know, you talk about everybody's going to end up losing except for one team at the end of whatever tournament or whatever division you're in, because there's only one champion when it comes down to it. I don't know which is tougher to swallow, a blowout loss or one such as Briarcliff had this afternoon. You know, whenever you put everything out there on the floor and play just as well as the other team, however, you end up coming up just short. And, you know, you want to end on a positive note, but still you end up with a loss. I think you'd rather have a situation where you put everything out there on the floor, and sometimes you get beat by a better team.
You know, but I would also say this. It might also depend on your situation. I mean, let's take York, for example. York's already supposed to be home.
Yes.
They're supposed to be back in Nebraska right now. They're not even supposed to be on this court, and yet they're here. They've got 2 wins in the national championship. They're going to finish in the top 8, and, you know, certainly not where their expectations of a lot of people were, but they came through. You know, in the situation like Briarcliff, a #1 seed, and you know, forget the fact they were upset. I mean, you know, Indiana University's playing well in this championship, so
exactly.
they certainly earned the win. But as Nick Nelson, the Briarcliff coach, told us on the broadcast that we did, you know, that this was their dream to play, and this was the point they had built up to. And, you know, you can hear this story from a lot of their coaches. You can hear the scores from St. Francis, Illinois. 3 weeks ago, they're the #1 team in the country, and they get beat in the first round here. So it shows you how quickly it can turn around.
Exactly, and a team such as York that wasn't supposed to be here, you feel like you overachieved. Whenever you stop and look back at the end of the season, after the season's over, you look back and say, hey, we overachieved. We did a lot better than what a lot of people out there said we were going to. So that's what makes a successful season. And like I say, just because you lose doesn't mean that it's unsuccessful. Sometimes you get beat by a bad break or a bad call or whatever you want to say. As long as you've had your foremost effort out there and competed hard, that's what you want to do. But be able to overachieve such as York has done in this championship, that's got to make them feel very good and a good springboard towards the next year.
York has made up a little bit of the gap here. Indiana Wesleyan not shooting exceptionally well right now. It was 81-51 a moment ago, and they have made up 3 on the lead, but still a dominating performance. 4:52 to go, 81-54 is the score, as Mayhor will come out of the ball game.
The worst thing about York this particular game is that Cameron Coleman ended up getting hurt, and he didn't get to play in the last game of the season, even though it's going to be a loss here. But still, that's got to be disappointing to him because he felt like he wasn't able to be out there and be with his teammates. But he is a part of the game since he's on the bench still.
Well, and he is a junior, so you hope that knee injury doesn't hurt him too much coming back next year. Like I said, a very good player that the Association of Independent Institutions made enough headway to be named Player of the Year. And that, you hope that he's able to recover and in the offseason be able to come back strong as they start their new journey next year. 81-54 as we're at 4:34. Free throws coming up for Nema Kabari. He misses the first one. Greg Tonical and the Indiana Wesleyan University Wildcats are they're almost like a machine.
Yeah, you just come in waves almost. Just keep coming back and take one out and the other one takes over. We'll take one out and the next one takes over. They just know where each other's at, like a precision machine.
Here's a steal by York, and that's going to be a basket by Terrence Cole. And York is, again, clawing a little bit closer, but still you kind of think the only thing in doubt here is the final score. Greg Tonical is going to let his reserves play it out and get some stuff done. A layup inside will be good as Ben Carlson gets the basket. Carlson will get his first basket of the game. And the Indiana Wesleyan crowds cheer loudly, as do the Indiana Wesleyan broadcasters sitting next to us. They were cheering pretty loudly for that one as well. 3:50 to go, 83-56. Here's a 3-ball up. That one's going to be short. Missed by by Schaefen-Gross, as he misses the shot. 83-56, down to 3.5 minutes to go in this contest. 3 up, that one going to be no good. Rebound is going to be knocked away, and York will pick it up and come back the other way. Cole runs the 4 down the sideline. Up top, Eric Smith decides to drain the 3. No one came out to cover him, and Smith puts his name in the scorebook. As we approach 3 minutes, York trying to get another steal, and they are going to do it. Another 3 is up. That one is no good. Indiana Wesleyan gets the rebound.
Down to 3 minutes to go, 83-59. Indiana Wesleyan on top of York, Nebraska.
And Indiana Wesleyan will have a chance to rest some players here, but we were talking about their national championship. Reverse layup is no good. Putback will be no good. Too hard there by Murphy, but when they won the national championship here 2 years ago, all their victories were by double digits. And I believe I said that was, or heard, if I remember, that was one of the first times that had happened in national championship, a team being that dominant. Oh, nice behind the back pass, but they can't finish it. Actually, one of the York players had fallen down. I think he was trying to avoid him and got a little bit off balance. We'll have a foul called at the other end on Indiana Wesleyan, which will send York to the free throw line at 2:18 to go.
But yeah, whenever you can run the table in a championship with double figure margins for every game, that shows your dominance and shows how well you're playing at the end of the year.
Well, on the reserve roll, Indiana Wesleyan now is down to shooting 57% from the field, down from their 75% in the first half. Free throw made by Darren Tolliver. He has 5, and now some new players coming in for York as well, as Delton Deal will clean his bench, as their season will wind down today. Darren Tolliver misses the second free throw. Indiana Wesleyan ball. Down to 2:10 to go. They clear the front court, and we'll set things up. Laying out the string with 1:50 to go. Indiana Wesleyan heading to the national semifinals. They have been there twice, and then once winning the championship. At the other end, we're going to have a ball knocked out of bounds. They may call a foul on that as well on Indiana Wesleyan on doubles as he went down there to try to get the ball. That stops the clock with 1:45.
And just like that, Indiana Wesleyan could have went ahead and let York go ahead and have that layup, but no, they want to make sure that they earn everything that they can and not give up anything easy and just give it away. You still are just the competitive nature within you tells you I'm going to play just as hard whether it's 2-point lead or it's a 22-point lead or a 30-point lead.
First free throw up and is no good, or actually good. At the free throw line is Darian Tolliver. Second one is up. That one is good. So Tolliver will get 1 of 2. And Tolliver will now leave the lineup.
And Marcus Price comes back in, I guess, to get a hand for Darren Tolliver as he comes out of the game probably for the last time.
Tolliver, one of the seniors on this ball club. 83-61 as we're down to 90 seconds to go. Drive. Shot is going to be up and good, and another one of the reserves gets a basket. That is Jackson Murphy. So I believe, as I look out there, I think everyone that Indiana Wesleyan has put in has scored. And that is a lot of players. Here's a layup at the other end, which will be up and no good because a foul was called. As it was interesting, that was Trevor Waite that went down there. And one of the York reserves, Eric Smith, he was kind of waiting to shoot. Ironically, they're both number 13. And he got a hand and actually grabbed part of the hand and knocked it away.
So a 2-shot foul. I'm going to try to drive the ball off. It's what the delay is here with 58.6 seconds to go. 85-61, Indiana Wesleyan on top York College.
So with Indiana Wesleyan having their own media here, we will probably do a quick recap and wrap up our coverage tonight here from Point Lookout and remind you of what's coming up on Monday as Trevor Waite makes both free throws, 87-61, where they're not going to get to 100 tonight, didn't need to, as Greg Tonical cleared the bench early. And not only do they get a day off, but a little extra rest for some of the starters as well, as they will have a very tough Davenport team as their next opponent. That's going to be an interesting matchup. You're going to have a top seed against a what's the word I'm looking for?
Well-oiled machine.
Well, I was going to say, as in the underdog row, they're used to the underdog row, Indiana University East, but they've survived there. Layup inside for Ben Carlson as he has his second basket of the game. We're down to 18 seconds, final sequence of the game, and it will be a foul as heading to the line will be Marquise Jackson. 89-61, Greg Tonical's ball club. Heading to the national semifinals.
So with the pod system, so to speak, the 4 8-team groups in the semifinals are going to have a number 1 seed, Davenport, versus a number 2 seed, Indiana Wesleyan on one side, and on the other side we're going to have a number 1 seed, St. Francis of Indiana, versus a number 7 seed, Indiana University East.
Marcus Price gets the final basket of the season for York, and the final basket of this ball game. 89-64 is our final score.